start with a question. I would like us to start with a question. What opportunities emerge when academic units advising career services and student support professionals develop shared interpretation together? Just think about this throughout this session that we're going to have together in the next hour. Keep this question in mind. I would like to give you a little bit of quick overview of what iCEP stands for, because this is very important. First I is internationalization. It's about helping you all apply an international student lens across services and support. Not just from our lens, but our students' lens. And then we will use questions and guidance to coach our students for them to build confidence and independence. Coaching skills is very important. Doesn't limit to just career coach's role. And next is an E, empowerment. We support our students to develop the confidence and agency to navigate challenges and advocate for themselves. We cannot hand-holding them all the time. We need to empower them. And lastly, it's about practicality. Because let us be realistic here. International students' life cycle is complicated. Student visa, financial, cultural realities. So many layers of complications. So we need to keep that practicality in mind when advising them. So together, these four pillars create more consistent, culturally responsive, and student-centered approach to international student success across campus and enhance their career outcomes. And this framework wasn't built within one day. It took over 10 years of me practicing coaching students and a year of our pilot phase with the prototype institution, UAlbany, SUNY, New York. And within that first year of implementation at SUNY, this initiative was recognized as a finalist for the Simon Spotlight Award by NAFSA, highlighting its potential as an innovative approach to supporting international student career success. And we have also seen encouraging outcomes among staff who completed the training, including increased confidence in supporting their students, greater awareness of student challenges, a stronger ability to connect their day-to-day work to student outcomes. And to date, the iCEP framework had reached over 200 higher education professionals across departments and institutions, helping you all build a broader network of international student advocates and champions throughout higher education. And if you want to understand more about the full iCEP implementation, we consist of 3 stages here, which is designed to help institutions build a more sustainable ecosystem for international student career success. The first stage is the iCEP Online Foundation, which provides a shared language, common framework for professionals across campus who support international students directly and indirectly. So participants like yourself will gain access to online learning modules and practical strategies that can be applied within your own roles and departments. And the second stage here, we focus on institutional assessment and alignment. Because through the online foundation, we have lots of surveys and data points. So those participation data will become the reflection for us to understand our key stakeholders. Institutions can use those data to identify opportunities, gaps, and areas where international students may experience fragmented support across your ecosystem. And the third stage is about focusing on sustainability and culture building to be international student champion. Institutions develop a network of iCEP stars who continue to strengthen collaboration, advocate for international student success, embed an international student lens into campus practices over time. And for Penn State, our focus is on phase 1. You all have access to the iCEP Online Foundation for the next 6 months. Today's session brings together all of you, our colleagues from roughly 7 offices across the university to build alignment, deepen your shared understanding, and explore ways to create a more coordinated experience for your international student success. And this early engagement is so amazing. As of this Monday this week, 5 participants have already completed the iCEP Online Foundation and earned their iCEP certification. And that is nearly 10% of all of you within these first few weeks of the launch. What's unique about today's session is that we are moving from individual learning toward collective interpretation. Now, I would like to have a little bit of quick pulse check here. We have a poll for you. Let us launch that poll together and try. The question is about which aspect of supporting international student success requires the most cross-campus interpretation and collaboration? Do you think it's career? Do you think it's academic advising, immigration, or all of this together, or all of the above? Actually, 4 and 5 pretty much the same, right? But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Which aspect do you think need the most collaboration? Right. So what's interesting is that regardless of which option you choose, none of these really belong to just one office, right? Career, academic advising is also connected. Like, we're going to talk about this too later on, but let's say when the student need to have an internship, they need to enroll in a course that provides CPT. So that is also interconnected. And yes, navigating support across offices is so important. Students always ask for guidance. So each requires interpretation, communication, coordination across multiple touch points. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. And I would like to set a quick expectations clearly before we continue. This is not an immigration compliance workshop. Dagmara and her team can do an amazing job with that area. We are not trying to identify a perfect model that can solve all the problems instantly either in today's session. But instead, we are exploring how students experience systems and how institutions create continuity across those experiences. This may be the most important slide of today's session. Students don't experience universities as organizational charts. They experience universities through conversations. They experience them through referrals. They experience them through interactions, expectations, and touch points across campus. So this session is really about understanding those touch points from multiple perspectives from all of you today. As students move through their journey, different offices intersect at different moments, from arrival to graduation, or even becoming an alumni. The challenge isn't whether support exists. The challenge is whether students understand how the pieces connect. We often use the phrase international students as if it's just one single experience. But in reality, not just where they come from, but also whether they are undergraduate, master's, PhD students, they all navigate institutions very differently. This distinction becomes important when we think about alignment. Undergraduates often benefit from a more structured, a longer timeline. Yet many of them are still struggling in interpreting, like, what is networking? I know people tell me how to network. You have to go out and network. But what does that mean and how that connect with my school and my career planning? They might not even understand how to get involved with other school organizations. So a lot of things that they need to interpret and connect within that structure, a longer timelines than other students. Master students often face compressed timelines. Some programs may even offer like 12 months of the program and they be eligible to work. They have to understand how to utilize their OPT. That timeline is very tight. They have to adapt culturally while simultaneously preparing for employment, internships, post-graduation decisions. And this is where interpretation and prioritization become very critical. And lastly, PhD students or postdoc. For me, I coach both PhD and postdoc students as well, that they come for help with their career decision. And PhD students often operate through decentralized ecosystems. They work directly with their faculty advisor. The relationships with their faculty is very important. They have their own culture within their department. The funding for their projects, for their research is very important. The experience working with different stakeholders within their research may shape their experience more than centralized services. They have different complications than other students. But a lot of them also want to work in the industry beyond academia. The question is, if these three populations experience Penn State differently, how might they also experience guidance expectations, and support differently. That is exactly what we are about to explore. I am going to shift into a discussion activity today. We will divide you all into 6 groups. And before we begin, I would like to make sure that you have access to this Google document, which I'm going to share in the chat box here. In the chat box, please click this. I heard so many great conversation, and for this first portion of the discussion, I got only a chance to observe the first 3 groups. I would like us to spend a few minutes learning from one another. What stood out in your conversation? Let us hear from group 1 first.
I typed it out, so I'm happy to give a summary.
Thank you.
So just to give you some insight, I don't currently work with students. I'm here to learn more about the student experience. So one of the things like outside of working with students that I saw is that there's a distinction between domestic students and international students, what they can and cannot do. And some offices can get confused, not only like guidance for domestic students, guidance for international students, but also the colleges have different requirements. So it can become very confusing and also overwhelming to an international student. Where do they go? What do they do? So we just came to the conclusion that we need to think about ways to communicate with students to provide the best customer service possible without overwhelming them with tons of information.
That's a really important. Please go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is Tina from Group 3. I just wanted to mention that one of this is just kind of aligns with basically what we were discussing as well, is that there are so many avenues and paths for them to look into, and they are unsure and confused a lot of times about which department does what, and basically thinking that we all communicate. I mean, it would be nice to be able to communicate about each individual student, but obviously that's not possible. But I think they think and feel that we all know their specific situation, when that's not the case. And we also mentioned just how this is very similar to campus students, and that they come into, they're coming from a small campus and into a large campus and not understanding, what they need to do, when really they're honestly focused on figuring out where they need to go, what they need to do as far as their class schedule and meeting friends, and things that may not seem significant to us, and trying to navigate this confusing path. I think would be really helpful if we had a better system for both.
Very important observation. Thank you so much. I really love all the keywords that I hear about students feel overwhelmed and the mindset of customer service. And yes, students don't experience university as an organizational chart. They really think that when they speak to someone, they should get the information, not to be bounced back and forth from different offices. And that is something that we want to discuss today. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I would love to hear from Group 2 as well. Group 2, you have anything that stand out during your conversation? Anything that you would like to surface?
I can speak for group 2. We also touched on the fire hose of information that students are receiving and processing and navigating. We addressed scheduling conflicts and just conflicts in general, across units and across clubs, organizations where students go to find resources. There's sometimes a disconnect there. and understanding the regulations for CPT from the student perspective, from the career strategy, and career services perspective, and also from the employer perspective. It's really hard to go to a career fair with students and then have them come back so disheartened because employers automatically hear that they're international students and then the window closes. So we felt that that was a significant disconnect.
That's very good observation. And I completely agree with you. And when students go use the job search in that traditional route where visa and resume is the first gate, right, to screen them into the conversation with employers, that is the hardest part. But if they get into the relationship first and let them know them as a person, as a talent, not as a visa status, then that makes things easier. Yeah. Thank you so much for all your work. Any other groups would like to chime in, add your thoughts into this discussion about the gaps that you were able to identify during the conversation?
We had written a lot, but one of the things, I think a couple things stood out. One was confusion between the academic advisor and their ISA and who to go to for which guidance. Sometimes students feeling like they weren't able to get into their ISA advisor as quickly as they would like. And then there's a lot of different orientations that happen at Penn State, especially for international students. So maybe we see a lot of confusion of like NSO, International Student Welcome, Global Gateway. There's so many different orientations, and what they're like, what's mandatory? I thought I already registered for this, and they're mixing them up. And so, maybe like a visual of all of the different steps required would be helpful or something. And I totally agree with the 2+2. I hear a lot of that at my campus as well, like students feeling like the handoff between the campuses isn't as smooth as they would like, or they maybe don't know who to go to at the new campus or who their person is there. So, yeah.
That's a really good observation. Yes, I used to work with 2+2 students as well. And, actually it is a great program for universities to have more international partnership, but it is also very important to create the alignment from one institution to another. So that's really good point. Well, I think we have great conversation here, and I would like us to move on to the second prompt. Let me walk you through this a little bit. You can also continue the conversation about the gaps as well, what you see, and in the next step is, let's talk about which student population, like undergrad, master, PhD, or other student that you have observed, may experience the greater risk of fragmented support, and why. So it was a really good conversation again, right? I would like us to summarize a little bit of this idea. I hear a lot of, different opinions on which student group experience the most fragmented services and experiences. Some say undergrad, some say master's, some say PhD. Talk about the expectation of the students, especially PhD students. And well, I will stop talking because I would love you to share those hands-on experience. Well, since we had group 1 and 2 and 3 reported out, what about, let us hear from group 4. Group 4, any patterns emerge during your conversation?
Hi, I took notes, so I'm happy to answer. I think most of our conversation focused on undergraduates having the most challenges. And I think the one thing that we came to again and again was that international undergraduates are not only being college students for the first time. There's that growth, that period of growth where an 18-year-old is expected to know everything, expected to be independent, but they're still transitioning to that adult world. So the maturity and growth needs can add additional challenges to them becoming independent adults. And then when you add in an international student, maybe being in a new country for the first time ever as an 18-year-old, not having mom and dad right there, not having their favorite foods, not having, not be undergoing culture shock, etc. I think undergraduates were the population that we focused on most for having these challenges.
Thank you for servicing that and helping us see a clear distinction. What about group 5? Anything that you have observed?
We kind of actually focus more on the graduate students. And I guess the reasoning being that we felt like the undergraduates, there's a lot of resources in place for them and a lot of orientation and things, whereas with PhD students, Rachel had said she'd noticed that maybe they didn't feel as much social support and connection, groups they could get involved with. They felt like a lot of it was geared toward undergraduates, and they felt hesitant to join that. PhD and maybe some masters could have families that come along, and so they need additional support there, which, they may or may not know where to find that. And that we also pointed out that master's students are a shorter time frame, so everything is very feels a little more urgent. The timing of finding a job, getting adjusted, and all the things have to happen in a year or 18 months. And then also maybe not as many employers at career fairs who are willing to hire or looking for grad students to hire. So it might be a little bit more difficult to find employment at some of the career fairs.
Great observation. Yes, this very distinct when we serve the graduate students, right? Especially the time crunch. Let us hear from group 6. What surprised your group?
So I can make a few comments. Please jump in. I actually was the note taker and didn't say too much, but I guess we were just acknowledging that the level of autonomy for problem solving kind of increases into more fragmented options the higher up you go in a degree program. As others have said, there tend to be a lot of touch points for undergraduate students, but we acknowledge that those touch points are not always well connected, especially at a large university like Penn State. We think that 2+2 students in the Penn State ecosystem face a lot of challenges because they kind of work hard to understand the system and make networks at their first campus. And then if they move to University Park, they have to do that again in a different environment that's much different from a smaller campus. So that, they have some experience in, I would argue, maybe a more connected place, but then they have to redo it. And then we have one colleague who works with an integrated program, which at Penn State is like a combined undergrad master's level program. And she sees students mature, right, and evolve in their academic journey. And so I think a word that was used that I really like is priorities. So as students continue in their journey, they maybe have a clearer identification with their priorities. And so that allows them to maybe reach the resources that they know they need because they have clearer priorities. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's what we wrote down.
Thank you so much for sharing your thought and your observation. Actually, you are highlighting something many institutions experience. 2+2 students are really very fragile group that we need to support, and priorities is the key for them to know what is their priority. Otherwise, they will feel overwhelmed. So clarity comes with priority setup. Thank you for sharing. All right, so now I would like we now have about less than 15 minutes, but we have the most important part, which is the solution that we can come up together. We talk about challenges, interpretation gaps. We're now going to move forward to possibility. So this is the working group this is a working part for the full group now. What is one opportunity for stronger coordination or shared understanding across units? I would like a few of you to share thoughts on what you think could be that one opportunity of your existing resource or coordination that we can strengthen more.
I think cross training and creating the liaison, because a lot of problems comes from this kind of distinction between international and domestic students and the requirements for them too. So I think kind of keeping each other in the loop and kind of sharing guidance or training each other, or like providing some kind of co-trainings and whatnot will be helpful, because we may not be an expert and no one expects us to be an expert in everything, but we need to know where to send a student with a certain set of questions or problems, right? So I think that will be helpful. And I agree with the 2+2, because we kind of see that too when the students from smaller campuses are trying to do internship before to go to the, I don't know, SME or engineering program at university. But even on that level, it becomes a challenge sometimes.
Absolutely. So besides all the resources, playbook, tools for the students, we can also create that handbook or any one-page resource for all the advisors in order to help them guide the students too.
One thing that we do at Penn State over the summer is we have these arrival meetings. So all the units that are responsible for the arrival process at University Park, they join in these meetings like once a month. And so there'll be, housing and food services, there'll be like globals there, new student orientation, but we all kind of get into this meeting and we all like have this shared conversation about new students arriving on campus. It'd be kind of cool to do something like that, focus on international students. Maybe once a semester we have like a big open meeting or kind of like little town hall-y kind of thing where we put out an invite and people can drop in and just have an open discussion around international students. We give them some data about like the current cohort and what's happening, and then have breakout rooms and discussions and things like that. It's just like a meeting place that we can all kind of come together and discuss things directly.
I love that idea. And the key is about, we also need to put together maybe a committee members to host this type of event and, own the timeline, right? And provide the records. And well, we are very busy. So the question is how we can, create this alignment without overwhelming us as a support system for international students as well. The conversation, open discussion also helps in terms of creating the support system for yourself too. That's great. All right. I know that, we also have excellent resources available at Penn State already. And Dagmara and Richard, I know you have a few resources that you want to highlight, right? So I am going to move to the next portion that we can talk about Penn State resources.
I mean, when we met with Kwan, we talked a little bit about, if you like, how do you know like who is out there, right? And especially outside the University Park, we do have international student advisors that work with the populations kind of assigned to your campuses. So this is actually a slide that it's actually an effect of collaboration with the GECs, because one of the colleagues from the Global Engagement Office helped me to create that map. So if you need to reach out to international student advisor working at a certain campus, here you have our names. We are assigned to the to the regional campuses, like Alicia is at Barron. Candy, her hub is in Altoona. I work with Philadelphia area campuses. Then we have Diane that has a hub at Berks, but also serves the smaller campuses. in Northeast region, and then we have Takashi and Cindy around Harrisburg and your campuses as well. So I think those kind of visuals might be helpful for other offices to share as well. We will share that one with academic advisors, with career counselors. We are trying a lot, like cross-campus collaborations as well. So I can tell you, like as an example, what we're already doing is if something is happening around Philadelphia area, I'm trying to include colleagues from campuses that are like in a drivable distance to Philadelphia, so they can, make a decision if they, want to participate or not in event or what have you. So I thought that might be a bit helpful to kind of show you where to look for ISAs outside of UP as well. And then another slide, I asked one of the colleagues from the GC office to share as well, because, global engagement coordinators like Wendy, which I saw here someone, she was in my group, but Wendy, they do a lot of engagement work, not just with international, but also with domestic students. And they work on orientation and whatnot, so they're a great touch point when it comes to the arrival, for example, orientation and so on and whatnot, like Dana said. So again, we are not just at university, but we are across the Penn State. I think it's important for people to know that it's not just UP, it's, the Penn State, we are kind of spread out through the whole state. So I thought that it might be also helpful to see that for all of you. Who are your people around university, and we are working closely together. So that's kind of what I have. I don't know, do I have another slide? Yes, if you are helping international students when it comes to employment, the Penn State Global website is the resource to go to. If you scan that QR code, it will get you to our international student advising page, and we did a lot of work. Our communication team did a great job on putting this together, updating it. So this is a really, really good resource for you and for the students. If you open each of those employment windows, you will see step-by-step process, requirements, everything is clear, everything is up to date. I usually actually start with, if students come to me with like very generic questions about like, how do I do internship? I will say, okay, did you look at our website? Because that's kind of starting point for me. Go to check the website, go look at the steps, and then we can meet again, and then we can go over what you don't understand, if you need clarification, what else you need to do and where you have to go next. But I would highly recommend you to start with our website when you have basic questions in terms of student employment. Richard?
Yeah, thanks, Dagmara. I'm going to talk super briefly about a way that you can be involved in supporting international students and global careers. I'm just going to talk for a minute or two about this and then turn it back over to Kwan to wrap things up. But most of you, I think, in here have heard of the Global Careers Institute, but it is a program we do, a professional development program it started out for international students. Now we also support domestic students looking for global careers. We've been doing it for several years. Since 2020, we've had 6 or so of a weekend conference where we bring together about 150 students and alumni and career speakers to do sort of professional development preparation for these students. So if you're looking for ways to get connected, this is a great opportunity. But it hasn't been it's not a career fair, but it's an opportunity for our students to sort of prepare for global careers. And for a lot of the reasons that we've talked about, it's particularly relevant to international students. But some ways that you can be involved with this, you can join our planning committee. We have a low level of commitment this time of year. We do the event in April. So in the spring semester, this year it'll be in April in 2027. So then as we get into the spring semester, there's more level of commitment. You can be involved in helping market this event. You can be involved in recommending speakers, or maybe you're the right person to be a speaker at an event like this. We need volunteers on the day of the event to help organize our breakout sessions and rooms, and to transport students from around the Commonwealth, because we bring Commonwealth campus students to University Park for this event. We need support with drop-in career advising and international student advising. And there may be other ways to be involved. So I just wanted to throw this out there is Dagmar and I have several ideas as we've been talking with Kwan about this event, about many ways that we can support each other and collaborate better. This is one that's really an easy way to get started on this journey. I put my contact information there and Dagmar's, but I am going to give it back to Kwan to take over and have some last questions and wrap us up.
Thank you so much, Richard. What a great resources and team that you have here. I am going to share the last slide that we have. It's about moving from reflection to action. So as we wrap up, I would like to leave you with a few simple ways to continue building on today's conversation. And this session was never intended to provide like a perfect solution or one answer. The goal was to strengthen awareness that you all have today, reflection and alignment across the Penn State ecosystem. So one thing that you can first doing this week is to complete the online foundation. 5 of you have already completed the online foundation, and thank you so much for investing the time. If you haven't finished yet, I encourage you to complete the remaining module because it's going to give us the shared language and understanding and interpretation of the students' needs across multiple touch points. The second part is apply one insight. We all teach our students, apply what you learn. So let us do that as well, right? You don't need to redesign your office tomorrow. Just use one single insight that you have earned and share with us how it goes. Then please keep all these resources visible. You have access to the iCEP Academy for the next 6 months. Put it on your browser because you have to come back and revisit all the tools, probing questions that you can use with your students maybe this fall semester to help them think about career and don't feel overwhelmed. And then lastly, please stay connected. If you experience any challenges, need to have a thought partner, you have me, you have Dagmara, you have Richard, you have the whole Penn State Global as well. We are your international student advocate champions, and we want to support your work. So let us stay connected. And also, whenever you see any gaps, surface them. Okay, let the team know that there is gaps. Let us work on that together. Okay, so we are on top of the time. I would love us to have a group picture together. So since we have the camera on right now, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for your amazing work to support your students. Okay, I'm gonna click the button and let us give the best smile